Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, after uploading the last video I did, YouTube had recommended Alyssa Grenfell, her latest video, the biggest evidence against the Mormon Church, and I believe it's over 30 billion views. And because it was about the Book of Abraham, I had to step in. And as a result of commenting on that video, a troll came by. He's a fraud who stalks ex-Mormons to attack fellow ex-Mormons who support Alyssa. And so he attacked me. He's a fraud. He claims that he was called upon to render some Egyptian translations and therefore what Alyssa said is true. He didn't listen to my comment because my comment involves the current understanding of translating Egyptian, which is still, after all these years, 203, based upon Jean Champollion and his decipherment of the Rosetta Stone. And as a result, people just assume that that is how Egyptian is supposed to be translated. Nobody's ever bothered to go any further with it, to check, to fact check them. And so I pointed that out as a difference. Now I'm sure Alyssa will ignore me, even though she comments on other people's comments, who praise her and say she's awesome and, oh, their favorite show. But me, she'll stay away from. I scare her. Even though I tried to be funny, because apparently she doesn't like Battlestar Galactica. We got Battlestar Galactica because of the Book of Abraham. Come on, people. Give Joseph Smith some credit. And so, yeah, the best way to explain it for a Mormon audience is to say that Jean Champollion translated the learning of the Greeks in the language of the Egyptians. He did not decipher the learning of the Egyptians in the language of the Egyptians. And so I recommended, as I linked her to Egyptian Gardener's sign list, or Gardener's Egyptian sign list, oh my God. He now has a new name. Sir Helen Gardner is now Egyptian Gardener. And recommended she go over the larger sized hieroglyphs on the facsimiles and then check to see if you can find them. She won't find them all. I challenge any of you who think you know better than me to find them. And in fact, if you're that intelligent to know about Budge and some other guys who did Egyptian grammars and sign lists, check those too. There's a bunch of them that will not be found. And that's because Egyptologists don't know how to translate Egyptian yet. All they know is what Jean Champollion accomplished. That's as far as they go. And that's why all of the Egyptologists say that Joseph Smith is wrong. Just like all of the Hebraists said that Joseph Smith is wrong about the King Follett sermon. Trust Joseph. He knows what he's talking about. And so then the Ezra guy, he's not even known. He's a nobody. And so that's a fake channel for all I know. But it would be amazing if the guy actually goes by the name Ezra. He doesn't know how to do a trolling very well. Got to use a fake channel name, fake identity. But he, after claiming that he translated Egyptian, and so therefore he's an expert, not understanding what I said about the learning of the Egyptians and the language of the Egyptians, I then told him I am the anthropologist of the ancient Middle East. I know what I'm talking about. And so he responded with, anthropologist? Apparently he doesn't know what an anthropologist is. Which, gotcha. And then he goes and makes it worse. You can't do anthropology on ancient civilizations. Oops. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. So yeah, got him. He's a fraud. Real simple test, because I'm an expert in the field. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So yeah, in case you don't know, Eva Vasilevska, who did, I don't know if she still is, because she had some health problems back when I was attending her classes in around 2004. That was some 20 years ago, wasn't it? And so I hope she's still alive and kicking, because she's awesome. She was, if not is, if she's still alive, an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East. And I was her prize pupil. We both love Stargate. And so yeah, I took all of her classes, aced all of them. Even when the University of Utah started to do the pass-fail participation grading, or the actual letter grade. Oh God. Oh my God. And so yeah, I was in several of her later classes that she asked at the beginning if people wanted to get in a letter grade or a pass-fail grade. And so since I was just there to take classes because my dad sent me a death threat, my mom said, go to the university, go to school and pacify your dad. So whatever. But anyway, I loved it. She's awesome. She is the only, especially now that he's dead, the only female and the only American to do a dig site in Iraq. She is that awesome. And she published the book, which I don't think I have on my files, so I'll have to go to Amazon to do it. It's Creation Myths of the Ancient Middle East, I believe is the title of the textbook we had for that very class with that name. And I remember taking the first class of hers, in which she said her name, Eva Vasilevska, and then said, just call me Eva. Don't dare try to pronounce it. Creation Stories, I think. Yep, there she is. Creation Stories of the Middle East. And it's $50. It's well worth it. It's a scholarly work. A real scholarly work. And so you'll see a Mesopotamian goddess stepping on a lion with a rope tied to the nose. And in there she shows Yahweh as an anthropomorphic deity with Baal. They're brothers. And they have Father El. And so, yeah, she was the one who made that famous. She is that crucial and important to the University of Utah, who have never treated her right. None of her classes counted as credits. That's the whole thing I went in for when I went into the Hebrew department, where one of the women that was held hostage by Hamas, who got freed, has been on the news talking about her experience. Yeah, I knew her. And the other lady that had worked with me for the Hebrew degree assured me that they had all of the classes for a Hebrew degree, and then I got the curriculum for the semester, and no. I told them I want to learn about the ancient Middle East, and they couldn't do it. So they just wanted me in their department. So frauds all the way at the University of Utah. Not cool, guys. Not cool. So anyway, yeah, facsimile number 1. You see Anubis with a human head rather than the mask that he would wear at the Kam Ambo temple where this was taken from. Yeah, that was me. I found out where it was written from or written about. Kam Ambo. Should I go over that with you? Might as well. I brought it up. So yeah, that's the Kam Ambo temple. Temple of Kam Ambo has its own Wikipedia page, and it probably would be easier just to snag this picture and put it next to facsimile number 1 rather than searching all over my files for it. I guess we can put it in the new one, even though I may already have it. And so there you see the sun with healing in his wings. but it's in Upper Egypt. Don't be confused, it's not Northern Egypt. Upper Egypt means Southern Egypt, because you go up towards the mountains in Southern Egypt. And so the Nile River flows northward into the delta. And it was constructed during the Ptolemaic dynasty of 180 to 47 BCE. Thus, that's when the facsimile was written. Ta-da! Didn't take other people to find God. Egyptologists are not doing their job. And so the thing with Kamambo that is unique in how I figured it out is that it is the only temple with both Horus and Sobek. Horus is the hawk falcon bird, and Sobek is the crocodile. Okay? And so, when you go to facsimile number 1, you see the crocodile. There he is. And they call him the god of Pharaoh. Sure enough, that's exactly what Sobek is. How did Joseph Smith know? Trust Joseph. And so where's the hawk falcon? Don't see him, do we? Well, yeah, you kind of do. This hand is not a hand, it's a wing. There is a missing part because of rats gnawing on the papyri. And that's why Joseph Smith gave Anubis a human head and a knife in his hand. And having taken Eva Vasilevska's mummification class, yeah, they did use knives. He's being mummified. They would need to use a knife. How did Joseph know? God, all these claimed Egyptologists, and they're all stupid. So yeah, that was one of the big complaints, is that Joseph shouldn't have put a knife in his hand. He would never use a knife to cut open the chest to pull out the organs and put them in the canopic jars. You won't find those on the list of gardeners, by the way. Not even the jars. You might find the jars if they're used for the other stuff, but the lid heads, it's supposed to be a separate symbol and they don't have them. Those need to be translated. And so Joseph is right when he calls them gods. Each of those canopic jars are the gods that he's referring to, because he says he's referring to those as gods. They are gods. How did Joseph know? Unbelievable. And you got Mormon apologists making things worse. Oh, it's the god Korash, Momakra, Pharaoh, Elkanah, and Libnah. Dear God. And so, yes, that space is the falcon hawk. Now, it could also be for Isis, not just for Horus, as Hathor is also a part of Kamambo. She is Hathor, the mother of Horus. Isis, husband of Osiris. But the biggest problem is that Egyptologists have never been able to figure out how the Bible was written by the Jews during the Roman period of time. Until Dorothy Murdoch. She's dead, died in 2015 on Christmas, and Christians cheered, saying it was the wrath of Jesus upon that apostate. Gary Greenberg also figured it out, was on the right path, couldn't develop it into a theory though. He focused on Genesis. That was his 101 myths of the Bible, for which he changed the cover after the first one had porn of Adam and Eve. One of the is it classical period paintings or Renaissance period paintings? Can't remember. God, Christians, just gotta get rid of them. Come on, Trump. What's taking you so long to destroy Christianity for the Illuminati? Come on. We really going to have to wait until next year? You didn't know that was going to happen? You didn't trust Albert Pike, did you? You thought Albert Pike was just making it all up. Not talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints whatsoever. And so, yeah, you won't find Anubis in that position because that position has a specific translation for it. And by Joseph Smith putting in a knife, even though the original would not have had a knife, as we see others similar to this that don't have a knife, Joseph is specifically putting in meaning. And he's fully okay to do this, because that's what the Egyptians did when they were making their specific facsimiles. They would alter them slightly. There are numerous hypocephali, for example. Facsimile number 2. All of them have their differences, but all of them are circular. And so understanding before thinking you know it all, or you read somebody who made claims and he's not an authority, or is using the learning of the Greeks and the language of the Egyptians, you're going to get it wrong. And so how did the Jews do their scriptures? Because everything came from the Egyptians. Got that book on academia for you as an example. Genesis chapter 1 is the Heliopolis creation glyph. Genesis chapter 2 also is a continuation of the Heliopolis creation glyph, but it goes back to the parents of Adam and Eve, Nut and Geb, of the Heliopolis creation glyph. So technically, chapter 2 should be placed first, then chapter 1. But the Jew is specifically prophesying for the latter days. And thus why he makes his certain changes. The Cain and Abel story is Osiris and Set. Notice the new name, the new baby name of the name of the baby that Adam and Eve had after the death, the murder of Abel. Seth, the one who killed Osiris. I'm using the Greek linguistic pattern. I don't really care. It's picture language in Egyptian. And so I'm using the words that you most likely are familiar with. Because if I were to say Set or Seti and Asher, you might not understand me. Alrighty? And so when we get to Abraham, yeah, Osiris. Right on. Spot on. Joseph is correct to put Abraham in the place of Osiris. And so, yes, you could also replace Abraham with Osiris for this story. And so figure number 2, Osiris, fastened upon an altar. Same thing, doesn't matter. That's not the point. And people get upset and say, no, it has to be Osiris. Just one translation. No, it's pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 translations. Trust Joseph. Anything else for this? Of vital eternal salvation? We'll just finish this off real quick here because we're done. People are stupid. They think they know everything, and they don't. Facsimile number 2. Notice that it has a circular ring around the circle with segments within it. This is for an eclipse. Solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. It's also for a woman's womb. And with a lunar eclipse, blood moon, woman's womb, time of the month, inundation of the Nile River. The mountain soil of red travels down the melting snow, flooding the black land of Kemet, Egypt, into the Mediterranean, so that the waters look like they're bleeding. That's why women, all tied up in this one combo hieroglyph. All of those translations. But Joseph specifically uses it for outer space, which is correct. Because the central one is Khnum, the creator of man. And is similar to Ta. Real simple. Notice he's a ram. That would be for higher level learning education, with Abraham sacrificing Isaac and a ram appears. They're giving you dates in these facsimiles. And Joseph Smith knew those dates and put the 3 out of all of them from the 2 papyrus scrolls into his publication. Because we know he knows about the book of Joseph, as he called it, the papyri of Joseph, because that, number 3, in the upper right quadrant, is Amun, Amun-El. Does Joseph Smith call him Amun? Nope, but it says, is made to represent God sitting upon his throne, clothed with power and authority, and a crown of eternal light upon his head. Ta-da! How did he know? Emmanuel, Amun, Adam Ondai Amun. I have been horrified over the years talking to Mormons about Adam Ondai Amun and God being named Amun by Joseph Smith. What? Oh yeah. Okay. Because they all think it's Jesus. So yeah, you can see Osiris's name there in 8, isn't it? Yeah, 8, 9, 10, they go up in numbering. And then facsimile number 3, the wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the Zion Temple. And so everybody calls it Isis. It's Hathor. Look at her headdress. Hathor. Come on, guys. It's not Isis. Hathor, the mother of the prince, who, yeah, that's an error. The prince and the servant need to be switched. It is servant, right? Yeah, 5. Yeah, 5 he calls Shulam, one of the king's principal waiters, whereas 4, the female, is called the prince of Pharaoh. Yeah, just switch those. 4 is 5, 5 is 4. Now you got it right. The prince is being coronated, and in order to be coronated, you have to have a wife with you so that you can produce your heir. Thus, the number 1 rule of leadership is to train your replacement. Number 1 rule of Pharaonic dynasty is to give birth to your replacement. So thus coronation and marriage are joined together so that you can produce the birthright blessing son by Father Amen, who comes from outer space, rapes his 14-year-old daughter to give birth to Jesus. Yeah, that's where that came from. 18th dynasty, Hatshepsut. And I've been telling you about this all this time. This is just a repeat. I'm just bragging. And so, yeah, even though they say that Abraham is reasoning upon the principles of astronomy in King's Court, Joseph Smith is still correct. Because, as this is a marriage ceremony, this is also a date of when Zion will be established, or supposed to have been established. Nelson failed. And we're rebooting everything. Urgh. Further delays, pissing me off. I'm all ready to go. I'm all set. I've done my part. I'm just waiting. Nelson won't give it up and let us go. Pharaoh says no. And so, yeah, it's okay to call Osiris Abraham. Remember? And so that's his wife. And even though he calls the woman Hathor Pharaoh, he's still correct. Because who is the Jewish Christ? Do I need to take you to Matthew? Let you know from Matthew. Chapter 1. The book of the generation, seed, egg, baby, of Jesus Christ, who is not of the seed, egg, baby. Joseph is. The son of David. There it is. Pharaoh. Of the David, Moses, 18th dynasty. With Hatshepsut. That is Hatshepsut, standing behind him. Her husband died early because the son was too young to take the throne. This caused a panic among the Amen priesthood. Hatshepsut then appealed to them and gave them 2 reasons why she should take over as Pharaoh. First, she referred to the premortal council in heaven of the 13 in the council, Amen being the leader of the council, in which they foresaw as seers that this would happen. and foreordained, hapsetzut, to be the Pharaoh. Common priesthood were okay with that, but they needed more. Second, she then told the story of her birth, of Father Amun coming to her queen mother, raping her, producing her. And so thus, she is the daughter of God, to have authority to reign over Egypt. And so the Amun priesthood were happy with that, and she ruled over Egypt until her son, David Moses III, was old enough to take the throne himself. And then David Moses III would go on to battle Armageddon I against the Hittites. And in the midst of the war, Ezekiel 38 chapter heading by Bruce R. McConkie, he goes on vacation to the mountain top of Salem. Peace. And the Egyptian documents don't talk about what he did there, just that he was on vacation. But there's some Bible stuff, prophecies and revelations about Armageddon 2. That's what the Egyptians are talking about. That's how the Jews used the Egyptian documents for their versions, using their names for the characters. Joseph Smith is fully in line with all of it. And that's what I was hoping Alyssa would be curious enough to want to check out, because I can't compel her and tell her things. Jesus Jr. is going to set us all straight. Joe Jesus Jr. is going to set us all straight. Did I do my Indian impression accent correctly? From Hapu, which I think is also a white guy too. It's not an Indian guy who was doing that voiceover. Could even be a female for all I know. And so yes, when you understand that Joseph Smith knows the dates and hours and days of the latter days, that he selected those three only and put them in that order, and you use your Urim and Thummim like he did, like he says Abraham did, then you begin to understand what he's doing. But Brigham Young wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with translator. And so Mormons are in the dark. And so is the rest of the world still. And so, facsimile number 1, 21st of August 2017, in the constellation of Leo, the Lion Couch. Facsimile number 2, Virgo, 23rd of October, or 14th of October 2023, that passed over Utah, an annular eclipse, the Ring of Fire. Facsimile number 3, Revelation 19, 11 and 17, talking about the latter-day supper, wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the Zion Temple. Joseph Smith, section 58, expands upon that. 8 April 2024. Joseph knew the 3 days of darkness over the United States of America for the latter days. And you have Mormons who deny it, who refuse to accept that Joseph Smith is a translator. and instead demote him to somebody who just gets revelation, which is supposed to be inspiration, not revelation. Because revelator is somebody who has a Urim and Thummim and is seeing dates of the future predictions. So, there you have it.